Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Candid Conversations about network marketing with Dr. Wayne and myself, BK. Hi, Dr. Wayne.
Hi BK, how have we been going this week?
It has been an interesting week, to say the least. As you know, the global, well, we don't want to really date the episodes, but it's fine. I think it's fine, So we kind of we dated it with the metal rat. So this time around, I think we can date it again. So we're gonna date because once we mention this, everybody will know when this episode was made, right? If they listen to this in the future.
Yeah.
So this week, obviously, the past week or so, we have been hearing a lot about something called the coronavirus, and it's been bringing up a lot of interesting um, attitudes and behaviors in human beings. Right.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
So what are we going to talk about today, Doc?
Well, I think because of what you just mentioned, because it's not really dated in terms of what it does for people. So it can be the coronavirus at home. It could be that one of your children are not well. It could be that for some reason you've just been laid off work. It could be, so let's just think of a myriad of different things. And I think even this week for me, in terms of helping my leaders and helping the people who want to move forward. And then, of course, one of the major things to do as someone moving forward in their life is basically then, as we've mentioned right at the start, set your goals, know where you're going, allow the future to pull you forward by knowing your goals. But what happens if we want to become X, say, I'll just put it, we want to become financially free, whatever that may be in terms of dollars for each person, because some people financially free might be $2,000 a month. Another person, it might be $200,000 a month. So it's all different depending upon who we are and our expenses and our lifestyle. So from there, if we are now earning approximately $5,000 a month and we're comfortable with that in terms of we've made it to there, now we want to get to $10,000 a month. The thing that's going to happen is that we're going to be distracted. We're going to be distracted by there's some bees in my flowers at present that I've got to go outside and make sure that the bees aren't coming into my house. We're being distracted by little things to unfortunately stop us from moving forward. And what that distraction then does, so for us to go from $5,000 to $10,000 a month, one of the things as human beings is we dislike change. And the only way we can move forward is to change. We have to change our beliefs, who we belong to. We've talked about that in a previous one in terms of who we belong to. We've got to change things about us in terms of our identity moving forward. What happens though is we'll now be distracted by the little things. The hinges falling off the door, the bees are in the backyard, coronavirus, whatever it may be, that there will pull us back into our normal way of thinking because we're finding it hard to move forward. There's a part of us that doesn't want to move forward. And we've spoken about this in previous episodes as well, because the brain, 80% of who we are is programmed prior to the age of 7. So if we have this program of money is evil, or money doesn't grow on trees, whatever the thing that we've caught as a virus, the same as the coronavirus. And this is really interesting when we really understand. This is getting deeper, but I like the deep side of all this. So say, for example...
Go for it.
Go for it, yeah. So say, for example, if we really understand and take on board the concept of our beliefs were programmed prior to the age of 7, 80 to 90% of them. The reason that I truly understand and acknowledge that is because ancient medicine says exactly the same thing. They call it the mistake of the intellect. The cause to all disease is a mistake of the intellect. So think of a computer screen. What we're looking at now is representational of the human body in what you see of me now. That's my computer screen.
Mm-hmm.
The computer, the Mac that I have in front of me, or the PC, whatever you have, then has an operating system. The operating system for me and for you, BK, and the people listening is our subconscious. Whatever drives our subconscious now ends up being visually who we are, right? In terms of health, in terms of wealth, everything about us is programmed prior to that. So if we kind of understand that, and truly, I haven't got all the answers, but these are the answers that I've come to understand. And the interesting thing, now I'll go back to the computer screen. If we end up with a virus in the computer screen, if we end up with a virus in the operating system, the only place we can see that virus is on the screen. So now what happens is, say we have an intellectual goal-setting belief, or goal-setting understanding that we want to go from $5,000 to $10,000 a month. We have a virus back in here that says, no, we can't move forward because I'm comfortable with 5,000. So what happens now is, now we'll actually do everything that we are used to, because the virus now actually programs us to act in certain ways to become distracted. And once we get that, and then we can feel it, it's called there's a name that's known as transdiversional search, which basically means that the brain will only look at things that we are familiar with. So if I said to you, and don't tell me the answer, BK, I want you to say it shortly, but I'm just going to say this to the listeners as well. I want you to think of an ice cream. So BK, think of an ice cream, okay? And if I say ice cream, I want you to think of an ice cream to the listeners. Some people might think of an ice cream with hundreds and thousands. Some people might think of an ice cream in a cone. Some people might think of an ice cream in a bucket. Some people might say, no, I'm allergic to ice cream, can't have it. So we have all these different thought processes about ice cream. What did you think of when I said ice cream?
I had my favorite ice cream in my mind.
Yeah. In a bucket or a cone?
Oh, my favorite is a stick, and it's on a paddle stick. I think
paddle stick. Okay. Yeah. So you had yours, but totally different than what mine is. I love the cone, the wafer cone, and all the rest of it. I don't mind really what's on top. I've got some favorites, but yeah, and once again, don't have it often, but when I do, really love it. Now, let's put this into context in terms of when a TDS occurs, when we don't understand what's said. So say, for example, now I suggest what I want you to do is think of the blueprints of the latest Air Force plane in the world. And the brain will go, no idea. Now, what happens now is the brain actually now can't understand the next few words or the next sentence, because now it's stuck. Because the brain is going transdiversional, trying to search for any type of meaning out of the words that just happened. So this is when we can go to seminars or listen to CDs and DVDs or listen to YouTube, whatever you're listening to, Audibles. And this is why I always suggest, if you've got one that you really like, listen to it 10 times, because you'll listen to it and you pick up different things, because at that time, when you first listened, there was something that said, you had a TDS, didn't understand it, you missed the next bit, which is the most important thereafter. So now going right back to even what we're talking about now, the coronavirus. So what people are doing with regards to distractions, they'll go back to what they know, and they won't go forward in allowing their business to grow. And the growth of their business now is stunted, and they can't move forward. And the major reason is inherently we don't like change, and we'll default back to that virus that's already programmed within us. Is that what you've been finding this week, I suppose? Usually these topics have got to do with real life experiences as well that's happening in our own environment.
Yeah, so like we've been trying to tell people, this is going to be, we don't aim to be perfect, but we aim to be candid. So whatever we talk about between Doc and myself, sometimes it's reflections of our own personal lives as well. And of course, we hope that by talking about that, it helps everyone who's listening in or watching the episodes, right?
Yes.
So yes, it definitely has been, about distractions. I kind of totally get what you're saying. So maybe just to kind of help the listeners as well, the brain, we also kind of have these two states where it's pain, push and pull, right?
Yeah.
Push and pull. And let's say from getting from 0 to 5,000, being at 0 was very painful, and therefore that 5,000 can pull you towards it,
Yes.
right? But then once you're at 5,000, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm not too bad. The brain kind of goes into this operating mode, that's operating system default that says I'm comfortable, or at
Yeah.
least I'm not that painful, and kind of stuck there. So how can we then help someone to because the distractions are like comfort, it's kind of a
Yeah.
liners, in a way it's like a liners blanket. It makes you comfortable. Okay, I can, if I'm able to have the energy to attend to the bees and the flowers, to listen to virus news and so on, it's kind of like the brain telling you, you are quite comfortable, that you have time to pay attention to such things, but it kind of distracts you from the goal, right? So what
Yes.
are some suggestions that we can have for the listeners, or the people who are watching the channel, on how they can pull themselves towards the bigger goal of, say, 10,000 if they wanted it?
Yeah, and it's even then for the person who might be on, I'll use some ridiculous figures. Someone who might be on $200,000 a month, and now they want to go to $500,000 a month. It's the same struggle. First of all, we've got to understand this process that we're talking about, and understand that these are universal laws, in terms of, once you get it, then you can feel more about what's going on in your own life. So the first thing is taking the responsibility that this will occur no matter where you are and who you are. The thing that I actually asked this to someone yesterday, I said, so say, for example, if I now give you, no, that's what I said, but I'll put it differently. What would you do if $10 million was deposited into your bank account right now? And when I was talking to this person, I said, I will give you $10 million. What would you do? So the same thing. And this was a lady, and she sat back and she said, well, the thing that I would then do is then serve more people, help more people, go out there and be able to do more things that is in my heart and in my passionate side of me. And I said, okay, fantastic. I said, well, that's really good, because the worst answer would have been go on holidays, do nothing, retire from work and all the rest of it, because the universe does not like being stationary. If you're not, from my understanding, there's only two reasons we come onto planet Earth. One is to serve, and the other is to find out who we are. And a part of that is growth. Like if we look at nature basically, if we look at, and we are nature in terms of grows and expands and becomes the tallest tree it possibly can, no matter what type of soil.
Yeah.
And what happens to humans is, when we're given the 5,000, we now are comfortable with that. If we don't strive, the universe will take that away from you even. So it's now the first thing, just going back to your question, the first thing is to humbly accept this is a universal law. Secondly is to accept that we have to change, or it's important to change. How do we do that? Then it goes back to some of the other things that we've spoken about before. One is we have to have a big why. The other thing we really haven't talked about, and maybe this is more next time or another time, is there's another quote in all the ancient books that basically says the light of the universe will not enter if the body is impure. So say, for example, you're earning $5,000 a month and you're eating all the wrong food and going to the wrong thing with the big arches, and you're drinking that stuff out of the can with black stuff in it, and you're doing all this stuff that is not good for your health, and you know that, because we all know it. You might be doing too many of these things, or maybe at nighttime drinking too much of the other wine and whatever. We all know this. I'm not exercising, not doing the things we should be doing. then that's not going to help you to pull forward, to pull yourself forward. Because what happens is all those foods, and actually the microbiota is the second, the gut is the second brain. So if we feed this garbage, it's garbage out. So garbage out, what I mean this humbly, is that we won't be able to think to get over our limiting beliefs in a positive way to move forward and change. So it's not just, it's a multiple of different things, but I think the first thing is basically understand when you are being, if we go back to that very thing that we started at, if we understand that if you're being distracted by the little things when you want to move forward, it basically means that you're not accepting the change that is being put in front of you to move yourself from 5,000 to 10,000 or 200,000 to 5, whatever it may be, to move forward. And we need something to pull us forward all the time.
And that is the beautiful part about our business and our industry, I think, because you are never going to be operating alone.
Correct.
You're always in a team. You're always going for meetings. You always should be meeting with your team leaders, in a sense, in any capacity possible. And I think, which is what I really like about it, because it's engineered and set up in such a way whereby there will be people that will be pulling you along, right?
Yes.
Yeah, always have a chat with people around you, your team, or if not, just find somebody in your team that's able to help you in that sense. Correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Well, it's a very, very deep session and a very interesting conversation. To all the listeners out there, if you're listening and watching the episodes, don't worry. I mean, sometimes we may not be able to go deep into a certain topic, but if there's interest, let us know. Dr. Wayne is amazing. He has and opened my mind to a lot of different things as well. So I hope this morning's episode has been interesting in that sense and sparked an idea in your brain, because sometimes it is just an idea that is needed, right?
Correct.
You may have,
Correct.
there may be 6 numbers in the combination lock. You had all 5 locked in, and maybe something that we talked about today was the 6th number that helped to unlock your potential. Correct?
And sometimes that 6th number has been heard a dozen times, 100 times before, and something now is clicked because of a deeper understanding of what's just been said. And that's really important as well. Yeah.
Don't worry, next time we'll dive deeper into some of these topics again, because I think I'm going to get feedback from you, that people that they like this that we are doing today. Okay, thanks, Dr. Wayne. Thanks for an interesting episode.
Pleasure, BK. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye. See ya. Thanks, man.